Congratulations on the show.
Thanks.
Really enjoyed it.
Oh, good.
You're not sure at first where it's going to go, but
Yeah.
it's really,
Did you watch all of them? Or
all of them, yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
So it's really, I think, tremendous work.
Oh, good.
So, I mean, your character, though, I think it's really fascinating. So I really wonder how you worked at the tone of this and how you calibrated yourself to the tone of this character in this, this manic world.
It was an ill-defined character on the page, meaning it was very well written, but there was no sort of descriptives, it was just sort of enter Dr. Mantle Ray, blah, 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 and however he enters. So there was a lot of freedom to sort of talk to Carrie and Patrick and be like, what if we did this? What about this? So there were a lot of elements of the character that weren't there that we were able to sort of brainstorm on. And I kind of had an idea, which we weren't sure was going to work with the show, because he's sort of almost a comedic element in the show, and we wanted to make him this sort of heightened, slightly narcissistic person with mother issues, and so we were able to kind of, and he also lives in this sort of, incubator of the laboratory, and he never obviously gets out. You never really see him outside of that until the very end. So yeah, there was a lot of freedom in sort of creating it, creating the voice and the look and the this and the, so it was just a fun opportunity to sort of try something different.
What resonated with you about the material that was on the page? I mean, what made you really want to get into this project?
God, there was a lot. There was, the whole sort of idea of, two people who ostensibly, carry their own but separate kinds of damage, trying to fix themselves, and also just juxtaposed against sort of this pharmaceutical background of, placing hopes in the fact that this thing could be the thing that actually makes them well, and then sort of obviously just a very straight up human connection that they end up forming with each other, I thought was very interesting. To say nothing of these like kind of wonderful, fantastical worlds that they go into, that they sort of get to vanish into during the drug trial. So I just really liked, any time where I feel like, you're taking a genre and sort of breaking it over your knee a little bit and trying to, do something a little different with it, I thought was great. And just, it was such a bizarre tone, this sort of retro future that, this kind of nothing place in New York that doesn't exist was, I think, just really interesting, because it wasn't one of those things where it was, Minority Report where we were inventing new technologies. It was this very sort of 16-bit, retro sort of aesthetic, which I really like too.
Was this creative environment where things are constantly changing and you're able to bring your own creative flair to the character, to the project? Does that make it very difficult for you, or is that the sort of
No, that's exactly what you want. You want, ideally, you sort of, I've liked it both ways, where sometimes you have a director who's very, wants to put you on a very tight leash and a tight collar, and has exactly the idea that they want. Carrie's much more fluid than that. The way he operates his cameras and the way he chooses his shots is very meticulous. But when it comes to what happens in front of the thing, he's all for sort of things to get unhinged, and he'll always rein you back in. There were times where we would do takes that were incredibly broad and incredibly small, and he'd always find the sort of the zone that he wanted you to play in. But it was collaborative, which is ideally what these things are.
Were you able to build a relationship with Sally Field beforehand, or is that something that really came alive in front of the camera?
It was, yeah, she's just, no, I didn't know her before we started shooting, but then once you get cast in something, you obviously have enormous amounts of downtime to get to know each other between shots, takes, and scenes. And so just hanging out with her, we hit it off really well. So that's obviously, again, best case scenario, because if you're getting along with the actress or actor that you're working with, it creates that environment of trust where you can start to really enjoy yourself in the scenes,